I just want to tell people I'm living proof. I'm an idiot. I'm creative. I'm not smart. I'm not organized. I failed out of school. I don't have a business degree. Collaborate on through a conversation that turns into a piece of art. Like I had a very, very volatile childhood. Not a victim, not complaining or anything. We play punk rock versions of everyone's number one song. One of my pet peeves is when people treat waiters and waitresses like shit. If you listen to this episode, if you go leave a review for this podcast, we will pick a review at random and we'll send you a t-shirt.
Ready to jump into this?
I'm ready to jump in head first, my friend.
Okay, all right. So I'll just do a little intro and then we go.
Cool.
Okay, here we are on John Deere Store, and we have Travis, and he's about to jump in and do the 10 questions. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm awesome. I love the idea of this podcast, and I can't wait to see what we, I guess, somewhat collaborate on through a conversation that turns into a piece of art.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm really excited to see. I never know what's going to happen at the end of it, like in my brain, so it's not like I'm like I try not to be predispositioned to making something into it. So like I'm like, oh, let's hope it works out this time.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's improv. It's jazz. It's creative spark where you're like taking action in the moment.
Yeah.
So I to be completely honest, I was going to bring like my iPad and Procreate and try to create some art too, but I'm just gonna experience this without trying to make with you, if that's okay.
That's okay. I don't make it on the spot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because otherwise it would be a shit-ass drawing. It'd be like a sketch. So what I do is I dump this in there. I sort of gather my thoughts. Sometimes like at the end of it, I'm like, bang, I know exactly what I'm drawing. Other times I'm like sketchbook, page after page after page, and I'm like, found you.
Yep.
So that's the goal. I want to make sure that I'm giving you something that is more than just my first thought.
I like that. And speaking of that, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
As far as the creative process goes, do you think that people miss the opportunity to refine as you're kind of exploring ideas and then until that magical idea comes to you? Or through this process, what have you found from a kind of creative spark in the process?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think I've been doing this sort of for a little bit now, but it's kind of like drawing without having the blank page, if you know what I mean. So that all the inspiration is there. You just have to find the nuggets of inspiration that work for it. Mm-hmm. I will say it's not like. It's kind of like when I used to work at Nintendo, and you'd be like, you have to sort of crank stuff out by a certain time. Mm-hmm. And so I was a web designer there, so it's a different sort of medium. But because this is on somewhat of a time crunch, you can't really refine every idea and explore that. Sometimes you just have to go, this is the idea I'm going with, and let's see how that goes. And you sort of have to stick with it. Sometimes it's almost like it's better done than it is refined, if you know what I mean.
Like all art. All art. Okay, follow-up question.
Yeah.
Has this made you more creative as a human being?
Oh, shit. That is crazy. Because I was thinking about this last night. So I'm in the middle of also illustrating a children's book for a publisher up in Canada. And so we just went through and did all the first drafts. And I just did the illustration for the last podcast earlier this week. And I honestly was trying to draw last night, and I was just like, I was just trying. It's time for me to sketch. I'm just gonna do it, and I was just blanking. I was like, shit, have I? And I was watching. Have you watched Dave on Hulu?
No.
Oh, it's a pretty.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun show. But anyway, he talked. Literally, as I'm watching an episode, he's having this like blank space of like creativity, and he's going to Rick Rubin's house, and he's like doing all this stuff, and I was like, oh shit. Am I in that position right now? Like, but I just think that I haven't let my brain settle out of it. And then I've been craving, after a while, because I do a lot of all these ones digitally, I crave something tangible. So I'll probably have to go make something tangible, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm a little bit free from that to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, you want to jump into your questions?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. I love these conversations. All right. Question number 1. Breathe underwater or fly?
Ooh. Well, I'm afraid of heights, so I think I'm just more drawn to breathe underwater. And I went through this period of being absolutely obsessed with U-boats and the divers that actually like go down and find the U-boats, but what they do is they specifically do not remove anything or mess with the bodies that are in those boats.
Wow.
And so scuba diving became this sort of fascination for me.
Yeah.
But I've never done it, and I think if I could just breathe underwater, I would just that was exactly what I would do. I'd just go on some like crazy dives and try to find U-boats and I guess try not to get eaten by sharks. I don't know.
Yeah, you can breathe underwater, but you can only swim as fast as you can now.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think breathing underwater would save a lot of lives.
Yeah.
Where flying, I think, might get me into trouble. So I think breathing underwater would be that's what my gut says.
Yeah.
And I usually try to trust all 30 pounds of it.
You and me both. I would go underwater, but only because I love surfing, but I'm shit at it. So
Okay.
if I didn't have to worry about drowning, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll take that wave on. Oh, here we go. You know what I mean?
The ocean is volatile,
Oh.
and if you've ever tried to go surfing, I actually took a surfing lesson in Hawaii, and I did get up once, which
Yep.
was just, the thrill of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But I spent most of the time just getting my ass kicked by waves, just
Oh,
getting
yeah.
hit by a wave, and then you try to stand up, and you're tethered to a board, and then you
Yep.
get hit by another one, and it's, I'm sure the people on the beach watching were loving the show because there's this guy just trying to stand up. But yeah, that would be absolutely imperative for surfing because
Yeah.
you just get thrown
Yeah.
so hard.
Well, I surfed so much as a kid growing up, but I was always I loved it so much, but I was so bad at it. Like, I will say this, I could stand up, paddle waves, and like that. You get anything over 2 or 3 feet, and then I'm like, my arms are like skinny, like hot knife going
Yeah.
through butter, so I couldn't keep up with my mates. So I was always crap at it. But if I could breathe underwater, I'd be like, yeah, great. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah. All right. What do you do to pay the bills?
Oh gosh, that is the magical question. I have several income streams.
Okay.
So I'm probably most known for my experiments in side hustling.
Yep.
So, for example, turning a vending machine into a fortune-telling vending machine, or
Oh, wow.
doing print-on-demand businesses, or launching an agency. And so what I've sort of figured out is my superpower is that I will try anything, and I will do it publicly, and I will fail fast, because that's how you figure out what to do next.
Yep.
And so I think one of my superpowers is to try to get people to try to do something, even if it doesn't work, and then they can move on to the next thing. And that's how you kind of find your thing.
Yep.
in life. So, my income streams are I make money off my social media videos. I coach people online on how to grow audiences and monetize them. I have a podcast editing agency. I own a laundromat. I have, some properties I rent. The only thing I don't sell is my art, because I made a deal with myself that I'm just going to make art to do something and not make money off of it.
Oh, I love that. That's how I
but
thought
I'll-
about art when I was a kid, because
Yeah.
everyone would tell me, oh, you can't make money off doing your art. So I'd be like, oh, I'm just doing it for myself then.
Yeah.
So
I think it's good to have something in your life if you are driven towards money,
Yep.
to actually have something that you don't need to make money on.
yeah, that's a good point.
And so when you don't need to make money on it, you're sort of free, because there's no end result that you need to do, and you really get immersed in the process and the journey, because everything, art, a finished piece of art is fun.
Yeah.
But discovering how you made it, and accidents and all those things, I think that's the real thing that we all seek
Yeah.
as in artistry. So how do I make money? Consulting, brand deals, coaching, side hustles, real estate, laundromats. I'll try anything, and if it keeps working, I'll keep doing it, and if it doesn't work, I'll just throw it to the side and I'll move to the next thing.
Man, so where's your level of where something is working and not? Like, how do you find that all? Where's that point where you're like, I'm just going to hold on for that little bit? Because I think the quitting phase is really hard for people, and trying to figure out, like, this podcast makes no money. I'm pouring more into it. The viewership is really low, but it's something where I'm like, man, I just need to keep going. You know what I mean?
Yes. So that what you're describing is basically, I wish I had an illustration for this, and this might be part of your image, but it's like you plant a seed, right? And that seed is your idea. That seed is your dream. And you start watering it, and you start working on it. And that seed starts to grow, but you don't see it above, like, the ground yet, right? And so where most people quit is right about where that seed's about to pop through. And they actually see a result of their, the fruits of their labor. They actually see something emerge, but it's still growing underneath there. So where most people quit is in that period. So my threshold for quitting things is, just a simple series of questions, and they're really brutally honest questions. One, have I really given 110% on this thing? Because if I haven't, then quitting is not fair to the possibility of that project, right? Two, is this bringing me joy, or do I hate this, right? Because if I don't like doing something, I'm going to have to force myself to do it. But if I experience joy while I'm doing it, I will probably do it without making money for a while. So there is that joy, hatred sort of, again, that gut feeling. And then three, do I have it set, like, is there any money in sight? Is this thing actually going to be profitable, or am I going to continue to pour money into it? And those are sort of three variables. There's no perfect answer to that question, but I found that most people who quit, they're just about to pop. The seed is just about to poke through the sand, and it's just a matter of your internal compass saying, I either need to subtract this or go all in on this and really see what happens.
I definitely feel that vibe. I feel like I'm at that point where I'm like, I just need to keep pushing through. Like, not because I don't like, and I super enjoy doing all this, but I'm just like this. I look at my happiness in the future, and I'm like, if I get to there, my happiness is clear. So that's how
So how many subscribers or downloads do we need to get to make you feel like what you're doing is working?
So subscribers, I don't know enough. I'm in two sets of mind of this. All right, so I don't so much care about subscribers in the amount of being 2 million. Like that would be. I'm just blowing it out. Like 2 million would be fantastic, right? Obviously. But if I had an amazing community and then people were like, hey, I get stuff from this. Like I'm learning about other people. I didn't know this. This one really touched me. That one, so much. So, but they were along the journey with it as well. And then the artwork was touching people, and they were like, oh, great, this is amazing. I grabbed this shirt, and I'm part of that sort of culture. And then I have ideas past that where other people start creating art. And then I'm like, hey, let's make our own little art store. If you create a piece of art, we'll choose one of the art pieces and put it on the art store. You get the proceeds to it. That sort of thing, right? So that would be amazing. At this point, there's a certain money sort of threshold that I would like to be making between all my creative outlets, whether it's just illustrating children's book, like trying to find an agent for my illustrations and all that sort of stuff. It's just been a sort of pain. So I'm at this point where I'm like, oh man, I'm doing teaching jobs on the side and like looking at like, do I become a little bit of an art teacher here, but it gives me just enough break where I can still continue this piece here, because this is the one that I really want to do.
So what I'm hearing from you is you want to have some community around this show, and that community becomes some form of Istanbul or a marketplace where not only are you making money, but you're helping other people make money.
There's a saying that I love, tide that rises all boats. I would love, if I had on my tombstone and it just said, he was the tide, I'd be the happiest ghost haunting people ever.
I like that. Well, then I think the first step is, there needs to be somewhere we can go after we listen to this podcast to hang out with you. So that could be a Facebook group. That could just be a private chat on Instagram. But maybe I get early access to the process of how you're walking through listening to this audio and making that illustration, or you're sharing tools that you like or creative exercises that get me sparked to do my own thing. And of course, there's always a way to monetize things by merch, prints.
Yeah. So I have merch. Things. I do Redbubble, but like it's just so people could have it. Yeah. The viewership is small enough now where it's like not really. I think it's mostly people that I know, to be honest, and then there's some people that I've sort of catch up. But it grows slowly. But it's just one of those things about trying to get in. The way I look at it is I'm trying to ask for someone else's time, and then. So I'm never offended if someone, even if my family members don't listen to it. I'm like, that's your time. That's not, if you feel like this is valuable enough for your time, that's when I get stoked. So I think finding it trying to get in enough people's faces that sort of go, oh, how do we get it? Then that we find that valuable, because not everyone's going to find this valuable. But if I get in front of, it's just about getting in front of enough people.
It's 1,000 true fans.
Yeah,
you've heard of Captain Kelly,
exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So I got a super mega huge idea for you.
Yeah.
To scale this thing out, and this is what I do with my students in some of my social media coaching. Is I would continue to do this with regular people, but I think that you could also do this in a way where you maybe listen to an interview with Elon Musk and you drew something based off of that interview.
Okay.
So you're attaching your idea to someone we know, someone that we're like. I don't know who's interested to hear what I have to say, probably very few people, but a lot of people like what Elon Musk has to say, right? Or, if you tapped into the Grammys, a Grammy speech, and you drew a picture based off of a Grammy speech.
Yeah.
Now you're playing in a bigger world of people where the actual attention is, and you could fill in the gaps with, regular people or anybody who's willing to give you your time.
Okay.
And that might get you a lot more exposure to this movement, because I think it's super cool. And if I think it's super cool and I will spend my time with you, then I think that it's good enough to, keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I'll give that idea a crack. Thanks.
I think it would be cool.
Yeah. It would be fun as well. Like I've done it with other stuff, like I would do that with like people on TikTok and everything like that. I'd be like, grab their profile pic, and then I'll do a sketch of their profile pic and be like, oh, here's this, and like grab an image and draw half of it and do the other half, and so I've tried that variant, but not on the scale that you're talking about. So maybe I should reach out to that scale. Yeah, I mean, hey, there's, if you cast a big enough net, you're going to catch some fish, right? Yeah.
So if you're talking to a topic that has millions of people that are interested in it organically, there will be a percentage of those people that love art, that love improv, that love the whole thing, and you will capture their attention that way.
Yep.
But we've got to start with the biggest possible scenario and attach ourselves to it in order to crack through in 2024, where everybody wants your attention at all times.
Yeah.
So just an idea, you can totally throw it out the window.
I know, I actually love that idea.
But I can see it in my head.
Yep. All right, I'm going to give that idea a crack.
All right, cool.
All right, next question. What is something you cannot live without?
Coffee.
When I wrote this question, I was talking to my father-in-law and I said, this will be the biggest, like coffee will be the biggest answer. And he goes, no way, he doesn't drink coffee and I don't either. But he was like, no way, people care about other stuff more than coffee. I was like, no way, that gets people going.
Coffee, to me, is what beer used to be for me. So I am almost 5 years sober.
Okay.
And never had like a rock bottom moment, but just knew that like I am very all or nothing. And so in that capacity, if we're drinking, like we're drinking and we're going all the way till there's no booze left, right? So anything I do, anything I do, I have to be careful because I will go 1,000 miles an hour or nothing.
Yep.
And coffee is that sort of, when you first get into beer and it's like it's an acquired taste.
Yeah, very much.
It's not all about just getting drunk, but there is a flavor and a taste and a ritual to it. And so I think coffee has done that for me. Plus, I like a little kick caffeine and it's legal and and I think here's what else I'll say.
There's people on the side of the street selling like real dark coffee.
Hey man, you want some beans? Want some beans, man? I think coffee is also sort of what I'm very interested in as a human being, which is conversations, community. And so when you meet somebody, a lot of times the first thing that will come up is like, let's go have coffee.
Yeah.
And so coffee becomes this catalyst and this kind of conduit between conversation, getting to know you. It's warm. There's a feeling associated with it. And so I'm trying not to second guess my first instinct when you ask these questions. And it was just literally in bright lights, coffee.
Well,
So-
everything you said there is so I started this, drawn to your story where I used to do long form interviews when I was living back in Australia for 3 years, and I just had all these like people that had these crazy stories in their life, like traveling through China solo on a whim on a motorbike, like all these crazy stories. And I was like, man, so I did that, but then I moved back to the States and I was like, I need to adjust it. That was taking too long of an editing process. I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my podcast and I'm just going to set up in a coffee shop, and then I'm just going to have people come and have these random people that I meet.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that as well, but it was also soaking up my time because I'd be sitting in there for like hours and I'd be like, I got 3 interviews, I got 1 interview. I'd get 2 interviews, and then one of the people's like, actually my boss said that I can't do that interview. So I'd be like, I had to readjust on the fly to sort of be like, all right, now I need to reach out to people that sort of do it. But the reason the coffee shop is because of everything you said.
Yep.
It is that meeting place. It is that like communal space where we're like, oh, let's get in, chat, coffee. Like we're there for that sort of, everyone could make coffee at home, but you're there for that piece of society.
Absolutely. You nailed it. You
Yeah.
absolutely nailed it. Where in the States are you?
I'm in Seattle. Where are you?
I'm in the Chicagoland area.
Oh, God, I love Chicago. I feel like, so I've been to Chicago and New York. I felt more overwhelmed as I was coming in. I think it was from Milwaukee, and I was driving in, and I was like, oh, this is what a city looks like. Holy shit. I grew up in like a small podunk town in Western Australia. And so I think I might have had like 1,000 people in my small little surf town. Like there was 2 little cities outside of that, but the whole state only has 2 million people.
Yeah.
When I drove in that, I was like, there's nothing but buildings. This is crazy.
It's an incredible city, and there's a lot of really cool history of Chicago. You know,
Yeah.
It's not called the second city because it's smaller than New York. It's called the second city because the entire city burned down and they had to rebuild it.
Oh,
That's
I
why
didn't
it's
know
called the
that.
second- Yeah. And it's not called the Windy City because we have lake effect wind. It's called the Windy City because back in the day when they had the World's Fairs, that Chicago talked all this shit about how they're going to have the best fair ever, and it turned out it wasn't that good, and so people started calling Chicago the Windy City because people were blowing wind.
Yeah,
around
yeah.
like
I've
crazy.
heard that on one of the boat tours I did.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a great city. You know, Midwestern people, I think, are sort of this hybrid of like blue collar, you know, salt of the earth, hardworking, don't take things for granted. And so I really like this part of the country. I could do without some of the seasons personally, but
God. That cold wind, like when you're walking through the city and you're like, oh, no, I'm fine. You get that cold wind. I was to my core frozen.
it will rattle your bones.
Yeah.
It's the real deal. And, you know, some people say, oh, it makes you what you are because you have to deal with this and you have to shovel snow and you have to rake leaves. And I think there's some truth to that. At 44 years of age, I'm sort of like, I would just like to have some consistently warm weather in my life. But
Well, have you ever considered moving somewhere else?
Oh, I have, yeah. But my wife's family lives here, and so
That's why I'm in Seattle for the most part. My wife's family. They're all lovely people, so luckily I'm lucky in that. But
Yep.
yeah.
I agree. Yeah, my wife's family's amazing, and I love them to death. But I would let them live with me if they would just come with us to somewhere warm. Like, I'll add on to the house, and you can have your own section of the compound, so we can all be together.
Yeah.
But you just gotta, happy wife, happy life, as they say.
Yes. What do you do for fun?
Oh, for fun? Well, I am. I used to be a touring musician.
Oh, okay.
So I used to be a gypsy. I toured the country in a little van, sold records, sold CDs, people can't even imagine, but we used to actually sell physical CDs. And so music's always been a huge part of my life. So on the side, I am in a band with some of my friends. We're called Chart Attack, and we are the world's oldest cover band, not because I'm older than most people, but actually because we wear masks of old men and dress like old men. But but we play punk rock versions of everyone's number one song. So, you know, if it's Usher, we're playing his number one song. If it's, you know, Oasis, we're playing Wonderwall. If it's, you know,
that's so rad.
Yeah, so the cool thing is that there's sort of this original element to it where we're like kind of rewriting the song in our own style, but then there's the fun element where, you know, we're these old guys having fun and we're not rock stars and we're not trying to be cool. We're actually trying to do the opposite of that. Besides that, you know, music's a huge part of my life, and then I just like to be creative and try art stuff. So I'll buy a jelly pad one week and try to figure that out, and then I'll do lino cuts, and then I'll do screen printing, and then I'll do graffiti, and then I'll do painting, and I'm just constantly just like trying things out so I can figure out what I like. Yeah,
I feel you on that. I'm always figuring out, I'll try this, I'll do that. Whether it's digital or real world and stuff like that.
Oh, Procreate. I've got Procreate. I do collages. It's just, you know, my wife always is like telling me, God, I wish I was as creative as you. And I said, you are, if not more creative than me. You just don't do the thing because you think it has to be good.
I say the same thing to my wife. Or like people say, oh, I wish I was creative. I say, everyone's creative. Anytime you solve a problem that is not the way you think it's meant to be done, that's creative. And I'm like, I've just funneled my creativity to this here.
Yep.
You funneled it to what? I had a guest on here, and he does all the financial stuff for Microsoft, and he has to make these little widgets. And I say, I bet you that's creative. I bet you have to solve problems in that I wouldn't be able to think of.
Yep.
But you funneled your creativity there. Everyone's creative. It's just where you put that energy towards.
Yeah, I think the biggest stopper of anybody being creative is just the act of doing without an end result.
Yeah.
It's take, you know, you could be creative right now by taking out a pencil and a piece of paper and spilling your coffee onto the paper and letting it dry and then drawing around the shapes of that coffee. You can, you know, you can go to an art store right now and buy a myriad of little art supplies and just mess around.
Yep.
And you will be being creative.
Yeah.
Where you get blocked is that you need to post it on social media and show somebody that you need some type of like recognition for it. And like all good things, the practice is where everything comes from. The practice of being creative, the practice of doing things. It really isn't the end result at all.
I feel you on that. I have so many sketch pads where the drawings are just absolutely shit. Like, I can't... do I have it here? I'm just going to show you. This is me last night. I don't know if you'll be able to see this.
Yep, I got you.
Nothing like I normally draw. But I'm just like, doodling. All right, it's going to be nothing. But maybe something stems from that further on or whatever. It's just there for no reason. I'm just trying, doodling.
It's the act.
Yeah.
It's the act. And if you look at little kids... You know, I've got 2 young kids, and what I love about them is they will try anything, do anything, color outside of the lines, and they hold that thing up like it is the best thing that anyone's ever seen. And I think us creative people have somehow either been imprinted early on or can't let go of that, I got attention for this. Like, we're a little broken, which is why we can still do it as adults. Where other people have like pushed it to the side because I don't know if they see the value in it or the I think too many people are worried about the end result.
I fully agree. Like, sometimes I'm like, why do I want to I enjoy the act of drawing so much. I'm like, why do I feel the need that I need to show people after it? And sometimes I'll do a drawing and I'm like, I'm not going to show anyone, and I see how long I can last. And then I'll always be like, to my wife or to someone, to be like, have you seen this thing?
You know why?
Why?
It's because somewhere in our early years, we got some form of approval from somebody we needed approval from, and it came from doing something and showing it to them. Yeah. Whether it be art or not, I'm 100% sure. Now, in my personal life, like, I had a very, very volatile childhood. Not a victim, not complaining or anything. But I found that my creativity is actually like a drug. It's an escape from the reality. And so as a child, I would make things and imagine things and sing songs, because it took me out of that current state of fright or sadness or shame, and it put me into this other world. And so it's actually become sort of a defense mechanism for me. So like I can tell when I'm like, the other day I was like really bummed out, and I drove straight to the Dick Blick art store, and I just went on a shopping spree, and I just bought a bunch of shit, and I came home and I felt great because there was all this opportunity in front of me, and I had taken myself out of reality and putting myself into my created reality. And I think that that's true for most artistic people, is that we're unafraid to expose that, but I also think we're hanging on to something that was imprinted very early on for why we were like noticed or acknowledged.
I couldn't agree with that more. That's exactly like, for me, I think I had the same thing. Not like a victim or anything like that, but I had a pretty wild childhood.
Yeah.
And a drawing, and like there's times where I could draw, and it's like almost like meditation. My brain has not thought about anything, and it's like, thank you.
Flow state. Yeah, the escape. Yeah. I call myself the Houdini of feelings. I'll do anything to escape my feelings. I'll drink, I'll do drugs, I'll do anything but face that thing. And as I get older, and as I, look at like things like Buddhism and things like that, the whole game is just to face it for a little bit, and I'm working on it.
Yeah, you and me both. You and me both.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. All right. What is your spirit animal?
Ooh, a spirit animal.
To be honest, like, this is more to say, like, hey, what animal is you into, in case I can't find anything to draw? And then I'm like, I'm gonna add this character in there to get the drawing.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I could go a couple different ways with this. Sometimes I would compare myself to like a bear, because, a bear can be dangerous, but they can also be fun.
Yep.
I love sleeping, so I would love to be able to hibernate at some points in my life.
Yep.
So I have like a playful yet dangerous sort of, I think, aspect to my personality. And as I get older, I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So sometimes I feel like
a little bit more hair.
I wish I had more hair, man. I am completely, I'm completely solar powered. Dude. Completely solar powered. So, and maybe that's what I want, is like to have more hair. But yeah, I think that's what I would resonate with, is like this animal that like can work hard for periods of time, could be dangerous, will protect their brood, but can also be playful and in the circus, but also needs that rest of just turning out the lights for a while.
Yeah. All right. I like that one. I like it.
Yeah. What's your spirit animal?
Oh, God. I really should think of these answers before.
You should.
Well, and it's probably on which mood I'm in. Because, like, I think the platypus might be the coolest animal in the world. Because it's just, like, a mix of everything. Like, I'm not religious at all. But I imagine if there was a god, they'll just, like, we've got all these leftover pieces. Meh. There you go. Yeah. But I think the echidna's cool. I really like, I love elephants just because of the mass, the size, and again, the herd mentality. And but one that I love is beavers, because you know the saying where they're like, if you don't like your surroundings, change them.
Yep.
Beavers are I think they're one of the smallest keystone species that, like, they can change a whole surroundings by like doing one thing. And I kind of like that. And I've always wanted to see a beaver. Where I'm at, there's meant to be beavers around. I have never seen one.
Oh, man.
And I'm so devastated.
Get you a beaver.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I said, we got to get you a beaver.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's like those sort of, like, I don't know. I could ask me another day and I might be like, a blue tongue lizard. They're fun. So
Yeah. I think it is. I think it's definitely a mood based, because I think sometimes I could be a woodpecker, where I'm just hammering on something incessantly, but then other times I could be, I guess, a loyal dog. So yeah, I guess
yeah. I could see that as well.
Yeah.
I feel that. All right. What is something that you say to yourself, I can't believe I did that?
Ooh. I mean, I'm self-employed, and I sometimes take that for granted, because you can wake up one day and be like, oh man, I gotta do all this stuff. So there's a lot of reframing of like, well, remember when you used to have to go to a cubicle and you hated your bigot racist boss and you had to commute and you had to wear these dress clothes that you felt like a clown in? So I'm very grateful to have been able to sort of carve a path for myself. And what I always tell people is, like, I'm not smarter than you. I failed out of school and I don't have a business degree or a marketing degree. But what I will not do is just accept what I'm given anymore, and I will create something for myself. And so if this doesn't work, you can bet your ass I'm going to try to figure something else out. And if that doesn't work, I'm just going to keep doing that. And, I come from a long line of, I think, entrepreneurs or people that have that entrepreneurship spirit. So I think it's kind of pre-baked into me that I'm actually not able to work in an organization. But sometimes I wake up and I just go, I can't believe that, like, I just get to make videos and talk to people and get paid to speak places. And it's a little bit odd, it's an odd feeling.
You are living my dream right now. I feel like if I shaved my head, we might have a mirror thing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. and I'll tell you what the secret to that is.
Yep.
The secret to that is that you do a job, you work your job so you can pay your bills, right?
Yeah.
But you work that job under the guise of, I'm not going to try to make any advancements, I'm not going to overwork, I'm not going to underwork, I'm going to be an adequate employee, I'm going to show up and do what they paid me for. And every possible minute you can spend otherwise, you have to work towards something that can get you as close as possible to the amount of money you're currently making at that job.
Yeah.
And sometimes it even requires taking a step back, meaning canceling Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO to remove $50 off that number. And, maybe sometimes it means, not getting a new car every 2 years or what people do. And maybe sometimes it means not going out to dinner as much. But if you can reduce the amount of money you actually spend, you get a lot closer to your freedom number, which is how much does it cost you to exist every month? Now, as you do that, as you spend that time and make that money, then you can make a clear, not a jump, not a leap of faith, not a jump. You can just make a transition from spending your 9 to 5 doing someone else's thing to then not doing it in your free time, but just doing it in your own time and then having your free time back again.
That's sort of the position I'm in now. But I'm looking for... I sort of do teaching jobs and stuff on the side just to sort of keep that along. Luckily, my wife is the main breadwinner at the moment. But the goal is, my dream goal would be that all this stuff, all this creativity and everything is what fuels the next phase in our life, because we've had different swaps and turns and phases.
Sure.
Yeah.
As you should, as good partners do, right? We carry our spouse when we can, and they carry us when they can. That's in sickness and health, in richness and poorness, right? All the things that we said when we got married, right?
Yeah.
But, I think the healthiest exercise anybody could do to become self-employed is to make a straight-up budget of what it costs you to exist. And I'm talking everything that you spend money on every month, and then look at that list and go, what could I live without? Could I get rid of the Twitch subscription or the this or that subscription? Can I get rid of my gym membership and just work out at home? Can I spend less on groceries?
We literally just did that. We just got rid of the gym membership. We were like, do you know what? It was mainly for our kids and other stuff. We were like, this is just not... The kids aren't even asking for it, so we're just dropping this money. And so we're like, let's drop that, and we can. And we didn't tell the kids yet, and they still haven't asked for it. And it's been a month, I think. So
fantastic. The test worked. The test worked.
Exactly.
And then then you have actually clarity on how it's possible, because I think a lot of people go, I'd love to be self-employed, but they have no idea how much money they need to make. They have no idea what it's going to take. And then once you have that number, then you can extrapolate it backwards and go, okay, if I need to make $2,500 a month to exist and pay my bills and make sure everybody has what they need, I either need to sell 5 things at $500 a month or, 100 things at $250. And you can start to figure out what you could potentially be doing to make that money up as you're just being an adequate employee in the background. So I think... I think everybody could do it. There's never been a better time to do it, and I think you're going to do it because you're an industrious kind of guy, and I think that you're not going to quit on anything. But I just want to tell people I'm living proof. I'm an idiot. I'm creative. I'm not smart. I'm not organized. I failed out of school. I don't have a business degree. You know, but what I've been able to do is kind of, you know, carve my own little path. And yeah, there's tight months and there's great months.
Yeah.
But, you know, I get to eat what I kill.
Yep.
I'm not building somebody else's empire.
Yeah.
And part of this whole thing for me was I went through this death phase, okay?
Yep.
Where I was 100% sure I was dying, okay? I would go to doctors and get these tests. I got this stomach pain and I don't know what's going on. I had, in my head, I had cancer and I had leukemia and I had all these things going on. Well, what it really broke down to is the fact that I think that I knew, actually I did a meditation on this, but it was like, if I was on my deathbed, what would be the thing I would regret the most? And the thing that I came to in that deathbed scenario was that I never really gave it a shot to see if I could do my own thing. And that was it. It wasn't that I hadn't traveled, you know, or been married or any of these other things or found love or anything. It was the fact that if I was on my deathbed right now and somebody said, what do you wish you would have done? I wish I would have went for it. I wish I would have seen if I could do my own thing. And that was when I really put it into high gear and said, I'm setting the number. I'm going to work my ass off to get to that number. And I'm going to walk into my boss's office and say, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice and I'm going to go do my own thing. And even if I fail, and even if you fail, I can always go get another job.
Yeah. Yep.
But I can't get out of my deathbed and say, I now have a chance to go try to make this work.
I honestly feel like if this wasn't real and I was just having a dream, I'd be like, oh, great, this is just my brain talking to itself. Like, it's so similar to how I think. It's crazy.
Well, it's, you know, the universe has brought us together, Maddie.
Yeah. God. Killing it. You are. Who is your go-to person?
Oh, by far my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, I talk to so many people that are in like these, I don't even know, like business relationship marriages. And, you know, I'm so grateful because me and my wife have like this huge open line of communication and we're very supportive of each other and we're very real with each other. And, you know, we sort of therapize each other and cheer each other on. And, you know, I know she's someone I can go to in any aspect and say, you know, I'm thinking about doing this thing. And here's what I think are the pros, and here's what I think are the cons. Like, either talk me in or out of this. And she will not bullshit me. She's very supportive. And I'm so sad to see all these people. Like, I've met so many people recently that are like, yeah, I'm married, but we're sort of like just living together. And I'm like, what's the point of that? Like, don't you want to be in love? Don't you want to like feel like you've found your person? But we just... I understand settling, but if something's not working, either go get some therapy and fix it, or find somebody else because you're probably living a lie, right? So absolutely, without a doubt, my wife Samantha, she's the coolest lady I know, and I don't know what I'd do without her, man. I really don't.
God, I feel like you might be the Chicago version of me. Like, because
have
we
entered into a
My wife is the same way. Like, I got a best mate, Sparkles, who I reach out to as well. Like, I've got my mates, but my wife, like, we've always had a connection. We've always had a big open line of dialogue, and sure, butt heads and stuff, but we figure it out and talk about it and whatever. It's
crazy because a lot of times I found this. I find that when I talk to some of my friends, they're like, we eat dinner and we put the kids to bed and then my wife goes to bed and I do my own thing all night. And I actually love the bedtime routine we have where we go upstairs together and we brush our teeth and talk and then we watch a TV show together. And it's like, when I don't have that, when I go out to a concert with my friends and I come home late, I actually miss that more than I think I would have missed the concert.
I feel you on that. I look forward to it. Like, I'll say during the day, like, hey, what show are we going to watch tonight? We are remodeling a part of our house right now, and we're adding showers, and we're adding a double shower head. Yeah. Because we would shower together. Yeah. And just have that. That's where we would break down our conversations in other houses we had. and then we would go to bed, and like that was our routine, and we both missed that because we'd be like, it's that space where you like, you don't need to do anything, and so you can just have this time together.
Yeah, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
There's no phone to pull out. There's no notification. There's no doorbell. It's you are there, and let's be honest, hot water is the most magical thing that you could ever do. Is sit and let hot water pour over you. You know, people have their best ideas in the shower because your brain goes, I don't need to think about anything, and it processes stuff in the background, and that's why you get your shower thoughts and your great ideas, you know? So
I fully agree with that.
Completely magical. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. What's an unspoken social rule that you love or hate?
An unspoken social rule that I love or I hate. Give me an example. I'm not pulling anything
Okay,
up.
so I guess unspoken's sort of the weird thing, but I love in Australia where I was in Australia, it was like tight where the parking was and everything, and everybody would like wave. Like you gave them just like even like move over an inch, they're like, hey, how you going? Hey, they wave in the car. And so around here, that wave, you get it a little bit, but it's just not as much.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoy that aspect of like, oh yeah, good job, like thanks, well done, that sort of thing. That's one that I love.
I guess one of my pet peeves is when people treat waiters and waitresses like shit. I don't know if that... I think like if I was going to like, I can tell a lot about a person just by the way they treat a waiter, or even like the person at Chipotle that's scooping the chicken into your burrito bowl.
The way you treat anybody, like if, I fully agree. That one there's like where you see an interaction happening. I've been playing a lot of pickleball lately.
Oh, cool.
And what I find interesting is when people that are better than like the average, let's say, and how they treat the people that are just starting, or how they treat people that are not as good.
Yep.
And how they're like, well, like, oh god, they didn't make that shot. Oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, you want like intense games, but if you're doing pickup, then, and I always think of that. Like, they're the things in my head that I'm like, I can imagine how you are outside of this a little bit.
Oh yeah, anytime I'm with somebody and they're, you know, they treat the waiter like crap, I'm like, this is a person I don't want in my life anymore. Mm-hmm. Because if they can't treat this random stranger with respect, I actually have the greatest Chipotle hack that you'll ever have. So
hit me up.
Okay, check this out. So anytime you go to a place where like there's a person behind the thing and they're actually in charge of the portions of food you're getting, what you want to do is you want to go to the same Chipotle over and over again. And hopefully it's the same person, but it's the person in the middle, okay? The person in the middle, not the person who gets the flour tortilla ready. It's the person in the middle that controls the meat, okay?
Okay.
And all you have to do is make eye contact and smile, and each time you see them say, hey, how's your day going? You know, do you ever get a day off? Just small talk pleasantry. And at some point, ask them their name.
Yeah.
And every time you see them, you walk in and you say, hey, Ophelia. Hey, Johnny.
Yeah.
Not only your experience there, but the amount of food you're going to get is going to increase by 50% because nobody interacts with these people. They act like they're like these slaves behind a counter. They treat people like shit. And if you're just nice to them, oh boy, you're going to get so much more chicken. We have a drive-in burger place down here, and there's we were going there quite a bit for a while. I had to stop because of this thing. But a bunch of the waiters and waitresses, like, they'll come up and just like, hey, knock on the window and be like, hey, how are you? And because I've just done that. Like, it's just natural for me to converse with people. And I never look at anyone in any position of like, oh, I'm better than you, or you should be doing this for me. Like, I even get out of the car and put my trash in the bin. Because I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like, I can do that. Like, you know what I mean? And they'll be like, oh, Matt, we got this. Or like, hey, like, they'll be like, oh, Aussie or whatever. Yeah. Like, I got that. But everywhere I go, when I was going to Jimmy John's or down at the little pizza place, or even when I go grocery shopping, there's a guy in there and he's super scraggly, super long beard. And I'm like, hey, what do you do for fun? Like, I was checking out, what do you do for fun outside of this? And he's like, oh, I'm into card collecting. And I'm like, oh, cool. What kind of cards? Like, I know nothing about it. But again, like I'm doing this, I'm interested in everything sort of
around me. So
Then we are officially mirror images of one another. I love people. I could talk to anybody, and I could talk to them for an hour. They'll never find out anything about me, but I will learn everything about them.
Yep.
And the next time I see them, they're like, I really like this guy.
Yeah.
And then all I do, this is the secret to people, talk to somebody, find out what they're into, and remember one thing. And the next time you see them, go, oh yeah, hey, how's the jujitsu thing going? And they're like, how did you remember that? And you're like, I don't know. I just paid attention to what you said, and I just remembered one thing that you said to me. And it is amazing how you can transform your personal experiences with people and have this reputation for being, somebody who everyone likes.
I couldn't agree with that more. I can't remember someone's name to save my fucking life, but they tell me anything in their story, I'll be like, oh yeah, so how was your grandma's toenail doing?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, what? Yeah, like from 3 months ago, like you said that she stubbed her toe or something like that, and they'll be like, oh yeah, she's great now, she can walk again.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I love it.
All right. We're down to the last 2 questions. So this one here, what are 3 things that you are grateful for?
Oh, wow. Well, my family, first of all, my wife and my 2 kids. I've got a girl and a boy, so I got a perfect set.
Hang on. I'm just going to, do you have an older boy and a younger girl?
No, I don't have a girl.
We would have been, maybe we are in different dimensions looking at each other.
We might be. They might just be out of order, yeah. And they're healthy.
Yep.
And they, a healthy child is probably, something everyone should be grateful for. So that's one thing. Number 2, what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my upbringing because I think a lot of people get stuck in the fact that they think that they've been victimized or traumatized. But the most interesting people I've ever met in my life, the most driven people, the most successful people tend to come from a background of volatility. And if, when my kids ask me about my parents, I'm very truthful to them.
Yeah, same mine.
And they'll say, oh, I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. And I said, no. Don't be sorry, because here's what happened. I got a gift, which is one, I'm not going to treat you like that.
Yep.
So I know how to be the best parent ever. But also, all those little experiences made me who I am today. And I really like who I am today, because I feel like I'm being my true self. And without that, I don't think I'd be as creative. I don't think I'd be as weird. I don't think I'd be as childlike without those traumas or the dramas and all those things. So I'm super grateful that I didn't have a boring life, and I'm not an accountant or, whatever, a boring dad wanted their son to be, or a boring mom wanted to be. So I'm really grateful for that. And I mean, at this point in time right now, I'm really grateful for this conversation and this opportunity. I love podcasting. I love art. I love this concept. And, if you're listening to this right now, I think one of the coolest things you could do for Maddie would be, and it's free, by the way, is just go leave a review, but actually write a review of this show. Because podcasters see that stuff, like it shows up for them. And I think that as we listen to podcasts, a lot of times we'll listen to a podcast, we'll listen to hundreds of episodes. And we never say anything to the person who we listen to. We're like, we love this show. We'll tell anybody but the person who does the show.
Yeah. Do you know what? I feel like I'm guilty of that. I'm definitely, I'm going to take
the golden rule of the internet is if somebody's doing something that you like, at least just go tell them that you admire and respect it. So all I'm asking for the people that are listening is just go, it'll take you literally 3 minutes. Go to the review thing, leave a star review, and then write the, what episode you like the most or what you like about the show. And I think it's going to fill Maddie's cup all the way up to the top.
I'll be brimming. I get one compliment. A friend of mine who I haven't spoken to in maybe 10 years, she reached out to me and said, hey, I'm loving your podcast, and it really, I enjoy it so much. And I was like, whoa, hang on. Yep. How did you find out about this? You know what I mean? So
it rocked you. It
really did.
Yeah, I would love for anybody who's into this to just take a minute of their day to let you know, and I'd be very grateful for that. I
appreciate that so much. You can tell that you've been doing this a while.
Yes, I'm ancient. I've got old whiskers of, but no, I do mean it. I mean every word of it.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. All right, last question, and I almost don't want this to end. Like, I'm gonna add a couple more.
Well, we'll have to connect outside of podcast land and hang out or something.
Yeah, for sure. I really dig that. All right, you have to wear a shirt with a slogan on it for a year. What does it say?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Do you know what? I kind of stole it from the Tim Ferriss where he does like the billboard one.
Sure. Okay. I gotta wear a T-shirt that says something on it. That's a big opportunity.
Yeah.
Do I sell you something on it? Do I encourage you? I think mine would say something like probably motivational.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I can do it, you can do it, or... You know, I'm going to take it back. I take that back. I would not wear a motivational T-shirt. I'm going to wear a shirt for bald guys, and it's going to say this,
Yeah.
okay? I'm not losing my hair. I'm just getting more head.
That is golden.
And that's what I would just take my hat off, and I would wear that shirt every single day, and I would horrify and delight the right people.
Yeah. That's so golden. That's so golden. Well, Travis, thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's been epic.
I loved it. I'm actually like kind of sweating right now because I'm when I'm into something, the vibrations, the energy happens, and I'm like sweating. So that means I had a really good time. Tell me, like, when do I see this picture, and how can I help you promote it to the world?
So you're going to be the first episode of season 4.
Okay.
And so I just published the last one of season 3 on Wednesday.
Okay.
So usually what I do is I do a little recap of the season, so I get a little bit of break between.
Previously on.
Yep. So I'll be like, oh, this was exciting, that. Like, this time I'm going to talk about the illustrations, a little bit of like, oh, this one brought this to life and that, like, and just give some highlights. And then it'll probably be about 2 or 3 weeks, and then yours will be out. And I'll do an illustration on that, and I send you like the links, the opus clips, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cool. Let's do something big for this. Let's take your illustration and like put it on a T-shirt, and I'll give some away, or let's do something around this to where we can like let people know that you've got an awesome podcast, but B, let's just do something fun and promotional around it to kind of like expose people to this concept.
Yeah, I can. So with Redbubble, I put all the illustrations up there for shirts, and cool. If you want, I can send you a couple of shirts or whatever. Like, and
I'll buy a shirt, but I want to give a couple away too.
Yeah.
So I'll pay for. We could pick some. Maybe what we do is, if you go leave a review, if you listen to this episode, if you go leave a review for this podcast, we will pick a review at random, and we'll send you a T-shirt that anyone from the catalog that you want. Doesn't have to be mine. And we'll send out a couple T-shirts as gifts for the listeners.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be down for that,
awesome.
for sure.
All right, cool. And let's stay connected, my friend. I'd like to, I feel like I've met a man of similar ilk here.
I definitely feel the same way.
It doesn't happen that often to me. I meet a lot of my kids' friends, parents, and I'm like, I'm not like any of these people. Where are the other dudes like me?
So I live in the burbs of Seattle, right? So like I'm in a place called Kirkland. And there's all these guys that walk around with the blue puffer vest that's unzipped, sleeves off, the shirt out.
Finance bros.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I tell my wife, if you see me doing that, I've given up. So I'm done. Like I did Odd Shoe Summer for you probably have as well. I just got so many shoes. I have so many Vans. I have so many shoes that are the same but different colors and stuff. I was like, I'm doing Odd Shoe Summer. So for the whole summer, I just wore odd shoes, but it was like a rule in my head. I was like, I can't go the same shoes.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, man. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I love the concept. I can't wait to see the illustration. I'm gonna go check out the store and all the other illustrations you've done. I'm grateful to even be asked to do something like this.
No, I saw what you were doing on your gram, and I was like, damn, this cat's so cool. And so I was like, all right.
I'm just here to have a good time, man, and I know you are too. So.
I'm with you on that.